Hello, all, and welcome to the Movie Bears podcast. I'm Brad Harrison. Each week, I'm joined by hairy, handsome, huggable homos who love film to discuss movies and dish a little movie news. Although this week, we are live at South by Southwest. Well, not technically at South by Southwest. We're at Will's house. Say hi, Will.
Hi, Will.
As usual, of course, my Coco. my Coco?
What?
What the fuck? I am running on like 5 hours of sleep all week. It's crazy. But my co-hosts are with me, of course, Jim Pugliafico.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be on the podcast.
And, of course, Will, who has already said hello. So we are going in and out of focus. We are totally like MacGyvering a recording system right now because we've had like a billion technical difficulties in trying to get this going. In fact, I don't even know if there's audio to this.
So you may be just seeing our lips move. If so, I'll try to make sure my lips move like this so you can hear us.
And if you're listening to this podcast later and there's no audio, then we've done something terribly wrong with the upload.
In which case, we'll re-record next week and talk to you then. But we did want to take a little bit of time away from South by this week. It's been amazing. It's been crazy. It's been awesome. But we wanted to review a movie that you've probably had a chance to see, and that, of course, being Cinderella. But before we dive into that, we'll just chat a little bit just about South by, right, guys? Kind of some fun little tidbits. We've been here. This is day 4 or 14.
Today is day 4 right now. We're coming up on day 5, followed by day purple. That's about how your brain goes when you're midway through the festival.
It's funny. The first day, Will was like, I have a test for you. And I'm like, what's that? And he's like, what day is it? I'm like, oh, it's Saturday. He's like, in a few more days, I'll ask you that question and you won't remember. And I'm like, nah, that won't happen. Well, Jim asked me today what day it is, and I wasn't really sure. So it does happen. I thought today was Tuesday, so whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're here. We've been seeing a ton of movies. I think we're up to like 22.
No. Well, I mean, I don't. In total, the number of movies we've seen might be somewhere approaching 20 at this point. In terms of because I know that we've split up and Will's covered a few more than we have and some different ones. So
that's because we went to the Game of Thrones Expo this morning,
right?
Where I got my Dragon Egg USB drive. Look at that thing. It is awesome. What?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to do here. There isn't just films, although that's the primary reason we're here. There's all kinds of interactive exhibits. There's the for those of you who watch some great TV, there's the Bates Motel set is here. It's like a full mock-up of the actual motel that's featured in the show. You can do a walkthrough. It's set up just like on the show. It's pretty awesome.
We checked in and got our room keys this morning. It was pretty cool.
Right.
Meanwhile, I'm drinking like some whiskey in the middle of a darkened movie theater, checking out a documentary. But yeah. I think as of right now, the count is I'm at 15 films. We're not at the halfway mark in the festival yet. We are going to break 30.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a second. Okay, do the math. So Saturday, Sunday.
Today's only Monday.
No, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We did 4.
We did 3 on Friday. I did 5 each on Saturday and Sunday, and I think you
12.
did
4.
Yeah.
And then, whatever the fuck. We've been seeing a lot of movies. It's been crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so we are going to have a lot more coverage of South by next week. Just some real quick highlights. We saw Malcolm Ingram's Out to Win yesterday. Phenomenal documentary. It was a total pleasure being at the premiere. Went to the after party at the Iron Bear, which was a lot of fun. Got to meet some of the great guys from the film. Wade
Davis. A ex-NFL football player, running back, I believe, was there. He is now the executive director of a program for gay athletes called, I'm losing it now. I think it's called You Can Play.
Yeah.
Which is an organization that supports gay athletes in their personal struggles and also in the stuff they need to do to maintain their athletic form and just to have a support network, and that's pretty awesome. Jason Collins, the NBA basketball player you guys may have heard of, in the news recently. I think he just recently retired from basketball. but he's out, and he's very tall also. But it was awesome to meet him. The film is great, and don't think that you have to know about sports to watch this movie, or like sports even to watch this movie. This is a movie about people in their jobs, whether it be athletes, whatever. These people do happen to be athletes, who are struggling in a very they're in the public eye a lot, and so they're scrutinized from every way till Sunday, and so they've struggled with their identity in an arena that is often considered to be homophobic and not accepting.
Absolutely.
And it's just an amazing story about these people.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So keep an eye out for a written review coming from Jim here in the next few days. Of course, we'll be taking some extended time to talk about Out to Win later on as well. Some other great films that we've seen this week. Final Girls, My Name is Doris.
Sally Field.
With Sally Field, really, really good. We'll talk more about that. The Sandwich Nazi, we watched
The Sandwich Nazi, awesome.
Lots of blowjobs talk in that one,
and some dick. We saw some Lebanese dick.
And we may have a certain predilection, a preference for conversations about blowjobs and images of penises. So this was I don't
right
want to
up
say
our alley.
It wasn't pandering to us, I wouldn't say, but yeah, it did certainly check a lot of our boxes.
And sandwiches. So he.
Oh my gosh,
he knew the target audience.
Blowjobs and sandwiches. That's our audience.
We've seen some cool. As Brad said, we're kind of tired. During these festivals, we run on a significant sleep deficit. Because we're up early in the morning to get our tickets for that day's movies. And then we're often in what they call midnight screenings here, which start at midnight. They end at 2 a.m. And then there's the drive home, getting into bed, and then getting up again, getting into bed probably around 3 a.m.
Our day goes like this. We're asleep by 3:30 in the morning, and then we're up at 7:30 in the morning to shower. And there should be like a reality show of us doing this. It's crazy. Like going one person in the shower and
Brad, get in the shower. Okay, go, Jim, go.
It's pretty
and
funny.
what's great too, I hope this doesn't bug you guys too much, but think of it this way: we've got another 4 nights of like 4 hours of sleep apiece. So it's yay.
So it's time to quit when you're getting as much sleep in the movies as you are when you get home, because you're falling asleep because of just not getting enough sleep. So
even the really good movies, like it's not like a matter of like, oh, this movie blows, I got to sleep through it. It's like
your body
it's like,
just shuts off.
Also of note, and harder to review, I guess, in the written form, but there's lots of bear eye candy at these festivals.
Oh God, yeah.
You're going down an escalator and it's like, oh, hello, you. Or you're standing in line and someone like kind of turns and looks over at you. Or you're at an after party at a random bear bar and you just get some nice tummy rubs and rub some tummies of your own. It's been a lot of fun. If you haven't experienced the film festival, certainly our movie fans will love it for the film, but yeah, I mean, the cute eye candy is also worth checking out.
I will say it's a lot of fun to like be in line and see someone that you think is like super, super hot. And you're like, oh man. And then at the end of the night, you're getting belly rubs out of it. Pretty awesome. Same guy is what I'm saying. Yeah.
You get a ping on Growler that says, hey, I saw you at this theater. It's like, oh, yeah, you did.
Indeed. Just a quick moment from our sponsor, 5 Hour Energy. No, I'm just kidding.
We wish.
But I freaking have needed one. And I haven't had energy drinks in years, but holy shit, my body is not as young as it used to be, I guess, because these wonderful, wonderful movies. Sally Field, one of my heroes. I'm falling asleep in her movie. Don't tell Sally Field.
Sally Field, do not listen to this podcast. I know you were planning on it, Sally Field, but
hey, you never know. I got to ask Sally Field a question and tell her she was my mom's hero. So that meant a lot to me. Pretty special experience. So I hope she is listening because that would be awesome. But I'm sure you understand, Sally. People get tired. Anyway, I know we're going to talk a ton about South by next week. So I think we should just get into our movie. Are you guys ready?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're at that point.
All right, cool. Then here we go. We're moving really fast through this stuff because time is tight. This will be an abbreviated show. So you get what you get. But at least we're doing a show this week. That's the important part.
Most people would take a week off. We're not. We're powering through.
We're bear troopers. It's what we do.
Or as one person suggested to us today, we could just go back to old shows and take compilation of our old shows.
Yeah.
Do a clip show. Yeah.
Give you a cheap old clip
Screw
show.
that. Screw that. He was like, yeah, just do a clip show and call it good. And I'm like,
Our listeners are better than that.
This is yeah, we're not happening. We're all about original content, not rehash repeat. So, speaking of which,
Yeah, spoke too soon. What are we reviewing today, bro?
we're reviewing Cinderella, which is a Disney live action version of their famous animated film. Which, I mean, we're going to talk about it, but it's basically a beat for beat remake of the cartoon, just live action. But we'll do what we normally do. Of course, no spoilers for the bulk of the discussion. I think we have a couple of points, right, that we wanted to hit in spoilers, so we may have an abbreviated spoiler section. If you are listening live right now, don't see anyone hanging out because, 4:20 on a Monday afternoon.
Huh.
I know.
For those of you sparking up,
is kind of a random time. But if you are live, if you've seen Cinderella, feel free to drop us a comment. Let us know what you think. We'll give you a shout out. If you're listening on a tape delay, we'd love to hear what you think anyway. Facebook, Twitter, whatever. But let's kick it off, spoiler free. Our review of Cinderella, night and day, it's Cinderella.
Wake up, Brad. Wake up.
Sorry.
We've got a movie to review.
Oh, God. All right. Well, so let's dig into this a little bit. Jim, if you kind of want to kick us off, I know we're like flying by the seat of our bare boxer shorts, but just talk a little bit. I mean, it's fucking Cinderella. People know what it's about. Right. Do you think it's worth seeing?
This is a primarily gay audience. If you don't know what it's about, get your ass out there and see Cinderella. No, what we're talking about is this year's this brand new remake of the beloved Disney's Cinderella story. This time directed by Kenneth Branagh. It's not his, he's directed several movies, and it shows, I think, in this movie. It stars. You guys are going to have to help me with the stars here. Is it Lily Allen?
Hold on.
Lily
It is Lily James.
Lily James.
Sorry.
Lily
Always
James.
come prepared.
Lily, the beautiful Lily James as Cinderella, and as the prince. I'm not sure he even has a last name.
He's just Prince, according to IMDb.
Right. He doesn't have a name. Is played by what's his name, Will?
Richard Madden.
Rob Stark from Game of Thrones. Show your shirt off for those.
Game of Thrones.
Oh, goodness.
Rob Stark is alive and well, and he is now a prince in Cinderella. So as Brad said, this is kind of a beat for beat remake of Cinderella. This doesn't try to modernize the story very much. It doesn't try to embellish the story. It doesn't try to tell it from a different character's angle, as we saw with the new Maleficent last year. And to be honest, I'm actually pretty happy that they didn't try to do that. I wasn't that pleased with Maleficent and some of the other efforts where they try to modernize things. This was a straight up remake, and it was made, in my opinion, it was made with a very loving and reverent touch to the original material. I thought they brought it to life really well. Sometimes bringing something from animation to live action comes off really stiff. I thought this was full of life. I think this is something that, had Walt Disney thought to do it years ago. I think this is probably how they would have visioned it or envisioned it. I just thought the performances were very good. I was really worried about the guy, the Rob Stark guy who plays the prince. I'm like, oh God, I see him as the Rob Stark character because I haven't really seen much of him. How's he going to come across as the prince? And I was totally believed him. I totally believed the actress who played Cinderella. We had Kate Blanchett as the wicked stepmother. And she was also, I thought all the performances across the board were great, and the casting. Beautiful cinematography and production design in this movie. They didn't seem to spare any expense. Nothing looked fake. There were some special effects in some of the later scenes, and maybe we can talk about in spoilers. But I thought it was wonderful. I'd say definitely go out and see this. I enjoyed this a lot more than something like Maleficent. But I know we'll see how you guys liked it.
For those of you who are watching live and seeing our camera frame like shift all over the place, you have no idea how hard it is like keeping all of us like in frame. We have had some crazy technical difficulties, so we're just using one computer. So sorry for all of the jumping around.
Our camera is now firmly attached to a HEB Apple Crisp 12-pack box, stood on end and wobbling on Will's kitchen table.
You know what? This is so ghetto. We're totally taking a picture of like
Our setup.
Of our setup. Check it out.
We made it work.
I'm gonna take a picture right now.
Back up a little so I can see the full effect. Here you go.
Awesome. All right. You got to check this out, guys. You'll be able to see this. There it is. Camera on top of a box of HEB Apple Crisp soda, which incidentally sounds really fucking good.
It is really good. Yeah.
I want to try some. But I guess I'll go next. So just quick and dirty thoughts on Cinderella. I think I'm kind of middle of the pack on this. It's pretty much a beat for beat remake of the cartoon. It's a little less musical, which is okay. Jim, I know you appreciated that there wasn't really anything new here. I was hoping for something new because I didn't want to watch the same movie that I watched when I was a kid, only in live action form. I actually wanted kind of a new take a little bit. I mean, it's pretty much just what you would expect. It's fun. Helena Bonham Carter is really good as the fairy godmother. I did like her in that role. Funny enough, she was in a 1990s version starring Whitney Houston, and was Brandy Cinderella in that?
I think it was Brandy.
Was it Brandy?
I remember that, yeah.
There's been so many versions of Cinderella, and I'm no means by an expert in how many there were and what they were.
Right. But anyway, I mean, it was fine. It was perfectly fine. You know, kind of hits all the same notes that you would expect. I know gays are out of their minds about dresses and glitter and pageantry, and there were all of those things. So if you're really into those things, I'm sure this was a visual delight for you. Was kind of neat, you know, seeing some of the visual stuff play out, like, you know, the magic of transforming the pumpkin into the carriage and the mice into the horses, and, you know, I would say this is definitely a fun one to go see. I mean, it is worth your time, but if you're expecting something different, this isn't it. So,
well, there were some differences, and we'll talk about them in spoilers.
Very few.
Oh, it's going to be the shortest spoiler section possible.
I know. Will, what about you? What'd you think?
It was a perfectly fine movie, if a pointless one. I'm kind of like with Brad. I was wanting to see something different here because this is beat for beat, all of the major plot elements except for the singing. There's not singing, but other than that, like it is the animated version, and I feel less like that was like a Love and Care type decision, and more like Disney editorial saying Cinderella is one of our big properties, so we need to handle it like this. We need to not adjust this. We need to not change that. So I guess I'm a little more cynical and think that's more like Disney protecting its brand than Disney loving its property. I feel like whereas Maleficent had some problems, I still enjoyed the experience of watching it more because it at least brought something new to the table. There's not much of value here to me. I do think that Cate Blanchett and Helena Bonham Carter turned in really good performances as the stepmother and as the fairy godmother, respectively. But I guess my biggest problem is Lily James as Cinderella, to me, was not very charismatic and was very flat and wooden. And a lot of the performance rests on Lily James's shoulders. So if I'm not feeling her performance and there's nothing else of value, like nothing new that's been added to the mix, it makes it hard for me to recommend it. So I mean, people are gonna love Cinderella as is. Jim shaking his head. I didn't shake my head during your part, Jim.
It's always funny if you watch Jim's facial reactions. He's the most like expressive one. Like usually when it's the three of us like on our own computers, you can watch the little thumbnails.
Jim's like rolling his eyes and like
or shaking his head, or he's just looking at like
it's all me, guys. It's all me.
But I guess getting back into it, if you want to watch this movie, go watch this movie. There's nothing wrong with it. Technically, it's a fine film. Special effects are nice. Kenneth Branagh has a good enough hand with it. And again, those two performances are, I mean, Cate Blanchett is worth watching this film on her own merit. She is that good as the stepmother. But my problems with Cinderella and the fact that they didn't really introduce anything new makes it hard for me to say rush out and go see this one. So if you want to go see it, go see it. you're not as interested in it, just pop in the old animated version. You'll get a very similar experience. So, positive side of that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nah.
Didn't hate it. It wasn't bad.
So it sounds like this is a go see if you're bored and want to go see a Disney movie.
No, I say it's
for us. And you say I wasn't done yet.
ahead.
I wasn't done yet. And you say it's a totally go out.
Definitely
and see it.
worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, it's, the criticism is that it didn't bring anything new to the table. And as I said earlier, I think that's why I appreciate it. I think they fucking asshole.
Yeah.
I think that's why I appreciate it. I think that, oftentimes when they try to add something new, it just waters down something that's already classic. I think bringing it to live action did bring something new to the table in that it felt much realer, more realistic to me. I mean, it was a story that I could kind of, I don't know, I could emulate with the characters a little bit better, actually, as live action characters than as cartoons, because there's always that element of fakeness to animation, for me anyway, as opposed to live action, seeing a real person emote. I think that brought an improvement to me. Not to say that I don't appreciate the classic 1950 whatever cartoon, but I think this definitely did bring something new to the table for me. If not in the story, they didn't add stuff to the story, but I think they added a level of realness and emotion here that I did not get from the original, or a different take on it.
I wonder if it would make more sense, at least in my mind. I mean, we've talked about this on this show before. I think probably in the last episode or two, about remakes, reboots, sequels, etc., and how I think as a group prefer original properties. And in this case, this would be a really good one for me to say, like, if you're not going to bring anything, if you're not going to change up the formula, don't change up the formula. That's fine. But instead of like remaking something we've already seen, let's see a new property. Let's see a new animated feature.
Right.
Let's see a new live action. Think about what we got with Frozen. For a while, Disney kind of backed away from animation. Not entirely. I mean, we've had animation for a while with Disney, but they've let Pixar do the heavy lifting in recent years. Frozen comes along. Disney proved that they can create a new original property, one that they can are probably going to be milking for years to come now. But let's see, if we're going to do a new live action, like if we want to have a new princess, a new fairy, new magic, there are plenty of stories out there to mine. There are plenty of different stories to convert into a Disney-fied version that aren't one that we already have in animated formats. That's me. Like if you're not going to bring anything new to the table, then just don't do it and do something original.
Can we talk about Frozen for a second?
Let's do it.
So let me back up real quick and say, yes, if you're going to see this movie because you want to see how they've remade Cinderella into a nice, beautiful, and wonderful live action movie, then awesome. You should definitely go see it. However, if you're going to see this movie because of the awesome Frozen River, is that what it was called?
Frozen Fever.
Frozen Fever trailer, or cartoon or short or whatever you want to call it, that's in front of this movie, then Brad has something to fill you in on.
Excuse me. I have prepared a statement that I'm going to read. No, I'm just kidding. So quick aside, and then we'll go into spoilers here. I was super, super pumped. I didn't think I would ever like Frozen. I saw the movie, fucking loved it. No secret. So I was very pumped to see what they were going to do with this Frozen Fever short. It is a steaming pile of fucking bullshit trash. I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated it so much. I wish the original actors had not come back for it. For me, it was terrible.
Don't sugarcoat that shit.
I'm not sugarcoating anything. It was awful, god awful. I don't want to spoil it for you beyond telling you my feelings about it.
Well, I mean that's what we're here to do, Brad.
I know. We're sharing, we're venting. But I was very disappointed, and it's so hard.
Tell us why.
It's so hard going into something like that to check your expectations at the door, right?
Right.
But I'm like, they just did Frozen. It was really great. It's the same people doing it. It's not like Disney direct-to-DVD sequel where it's a whole new team working on things. I mean, it's the same loving hands behind the movie that just pretty much took it and stomped it into shit. So anyway, I'm blathering on. I was not a fan. Will?
No, I didn't like it as well. And the reason I didn't care for it is you can tell that they went into it with the idea of we're going to reunite all of the cast members and we're going to have a song and we're going to have something cutesy and we're going to have something catchy. And then as a side effect of that, now let's build a story around it. So like we get this group of actors that all come back. A lot of them feel like they're kind of shoved into this little mini story in a way that isn't impactful. There's a song that is featured that is not at the same level of quality as the other songs in Frozen. And of course, this is a short, you know, maybe you'd expect something a little bit lesser in a short versus in a feature film. But for me, it all goes back to if you're not going to do it well, don't do it to begin with. We've seen much better shorts in front of these movies over the course of last year. Remember Feast? Before Big Hero 6, that was one that deserved to be made, deserved all the
fully
animation that it
original
got.
animated short.
But this one offered absolutely nothing. Josh Gad, I felt like he came back with some energy and some passion because he's the type of guy who comes back. Right. But he only had a couple of lines, so he didn't get much to do with it.
It's just a goofy.
But whereas the rest of the characters, like I didn't feel a spark. I didn't feel any of that magic that I felt before. This was not a good short. And if you're going back to see this just because you want to see more Frozen, you're in for disappointment.
But, you know, it's the same characters we saw in the movie. It's the same settings we saw in the movie. You know, it's hard to say exactly what went wrong here, but it sounds like they didn't have an original idea to bring this familiar property back and give us a little more taste other than, hey, let's put this stuff in front of one of our movies, keep the Frozen gravy train going, and, you know, and sell more toys or whatever. But it just lacks so much of the spark that the movie had. And I know it's a short, but hey, shorts can be very emotionally impactful. This thing had nothing to bring to the table in that regard.
Yep.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I guess we all just need to let it go.
We better start letting it go. Yeah.
You know,
it doesn't make me hopeful for a Frozen sequel. I can tell you right now.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of glad that in some ways, I don't know if that's like the right word to say, but I guess in some ways I'm kind of glad that it wasn't super good and that the song wasn't super catchy, because God knows we'd be sharing like 80 versions of like, you know, covers and samples and acoustic this and a parody version of that.
The song was super forgettable.
Yeah,
I don't even remember what they sang.
It was a B list. It was a B track. It was not something.
It was a D track.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as a D track, so that should tell you something. Anyway, you guys want to talk spoilers real quick for Cinderella before we wrap up?
Absolutely. Yeah. What have you got? Because I've got nothing for spoilers.
There are differences in this movie. And again, this is one of the things I appreciated.
Real quick, if you're still listening, spoilers are totally fair game. You get it by now. Go.
Right. So the areas of special effects in this movie were mostly, I would say, 2/3 of the way through to the end, when Cinderella does meet her fairy godmother, and the fairy godmother gives Cinderella her transformation to go to the ball and provides her with a new dress and a carriage and the coachman and the horses. All that stuff I thought worked very well. One of the things they did not do in the movie, I believe, and you guys can correct me on this, I believe the mice actually talked or sang or something to Cinderella.
In the animated feature, the mice sang. In this one, they did not sing or talk. They had slightly human features, like they would sit around kind of like a little overturned cup, almost like it was a table, but they didn't have them talking.
Right, which I thought was a great touch, because you saw these animals and they had kind of like, characteristics of interacting with human characters, but not communicating in a verbal way. And I thought that was a really nice touch to the movie.
Yeah, I liked that. I liked some of what we got with Cinderella's like family and backstory a little bit. You know, her mom dies of typhoid fever or frozen fever or whatever.
Yeah, I think everybody died of frozen fever.
They showed her mom frozen fever, and she died of a broken heart with Queen Amidala. But anyway, so that was interesting.
That's a different Disney princess.
She is a Disney princess.
Yeah.
But then we see Cinderella and her dad's this merchant that goes away for months at a time, and they love each other so much, and then he dies a horrible death, like with dysentery on the road somewhere or something. I forget how he died, but but this is only after he's married Kate Blanchett, and she moves in with her daughters. I have to say, just to echo, You guys, Cate Blanchett was fucking amazing
Yeah.
in this. If there's one high point of the movie for me, it's Cate Blanchett. I mean, she's born to play these kinds of roles. She did a really, really phenomenal job. And I think that, you know, if you love Elf and Barbie from the Lord of the Rings movies, like if she totally, you know, does it for you, you love Cate Blanchett in this film. I also like some of the things they did in terms of, just visually speaking, again, with the sort of the bippity boppity boo scene. That's right.
The magical transformation.
The magical transformation scene.
Sailor Cinderella.
Yeah, totally. Right, exactly.
What was it?
Moon crystal slippers.
Spinning in circles as the dress magically transforms around you. Yeah.
It's like
reference.
backstage at a drag show, I'm sure. But anyway, no, they did a really great job with a lot of that stuff. I mentioned it earlier a little bit, like the pumpkin turning into the carriage. They sort of gave it a bit of a realistic side, which I thought was really neat.
Yeah.
Instead of like the wand magic just hitting the pumpkin and bam, it's a golden carriage. Like this thing is a golden carriage, but it looks like it came from a pumpkin. It got folded in gold. You know what I mean? Like the mice, when they're turned into horses, they still have mouse ears for a while before they kind of go away. The lizards that get turned into the footmen, even though they're humans, they still look like lizards. You know what I mean? So you can tell that magic has changed these things, but there's still an element to them that calls back to what they are. And I think that's so neat the way they did that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and the scene where after the ball, where Cinderella is rushing home to try to beat the last stroke of midnight in the carriage, and everything is transforming around her, right? The carriage is turning back into a pumpkin. The horses are turning back into mice, and the footmen are turning back into lizards and stuff. And everything's transforming slowly, one bit at a time. And the way it all came apart, I thought was awesome. The crash of the carriage at the end, I thought the special effects there were wonderfully done. The other thing I want to talk about is I thought they had some brief scenes of just sweeping landscapes of the castle and the grounds and so forth. I thought that was really well done and totally believable, and kind of helped bring me more into this world that I felt was more real, and maybe that made me invest in the story a little bit more emotionally.
Yeah, some of the visual effects I really liked. Some of them, I mean, I don't think it was visually effects wise like the best movie that I've seen. I think some of them certainly did stand out for me. I did like the transformation sequence. I thought that was a lot of fun. And again, we talked about Cate Blanchett. Like, she is the reason to see this. You know, as much as I kind of feel that this movie is a bit of an exercise in pointlessness.
Not as much as RoboCop.
RoboCop sucked. RoboCop sucked. It was a bad movie, but
Chappie has RoboCop.
It was a shaky story that was classic when it first came out, but when they redid it, they discovered how bad it really sucked. And that's the difference between a classic and something that's, kind of like a modern movie classic.
But I will say, at least if you're going to remake it, change something up. And that, again, that's where I come back with this. Like, yes, the mice didn't talk, but I don't know that necessarily warrants like a new version of the film.
Well,
I think that it's ultimately like, again, it's a perfectly serviceable film. There's nothing that's bad about this film. There's nothing that I'm going to say you should not go see this movie. I just want people to be aware that, like, you are going to be seeing what you've already seen before. And if you're okay with that, then go for it. Me personally, like, I have X number of dollars and X number of minutes to spend at the cinema each week. And my X is probably a little bit higher than other people's is. I'm at the theater quite a bit, but I know there are some people that maybe get out to the cinema once a month or so. And if you're one of those people and you're really trying to meter out what you do in the theaters, I don't know that this is necessarily like something you should rush out and see. This is probably, if you're one of those people, the type of thing that you can check out when it's out on Blu-ray or when it's out on Redbox or what have you. I think, there are films that come along that you should see in theaters. We've talked about how much we enjoyed Paddington when that came out, and that was a surprise in how original, how creative, and what they did with it, stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, again, the transformation scene was cool. Cate Blanchett was cool. Landscapes, some of them were pretty cool as well.
And this was probably the slowest part of the movie for me, but in retrospect, the beginning where they did flesh out a little bit of her relationship with her father, which I don't believe was in the original cartoon movie.
No.
Now, it did go a little slow for me, and they probably could have scaled back on it a little bit. But in retrospect, I kind of appreciated it in terms of the way the whole thing came together emotionally for me. It made me buy into the whole Cinderella. She at certain points of the movie, you felt like she was all alone. She had nothing. Right. I mean, certainly the stepmother and the wicked sisters were there to basically torment her, but at one point in the movie, you felt like she had nothing. And so when the prince did come along and, showed interest in her and genuinely loved her, you felt that a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, guys, I think that pretty much wraps us on Cinderella, unless you have anything to say.
Yeah,
okay.
I think we're at that point.
Yeah, I think so too. Real quick, Will, what does your shirt say?
My shirt says, if you guys can see it right now, on the front it says, "How do I catch bears?"
I have an answer. You want to know what it is?
How's that?
You sit in the middle when you're podcasting and you get two hot bears all over you.
That's right.
Because they're trying to stay in camera.
Yeah.
That's how you catch bears.
Obviously, we're trying to get away.
Oh.
With these traps, pointing to
back hair.
Muscles that don't exist.
Is it pointing to your back hair?
It's pointing to my trap muscles, which I'm currently working on. Work in progress traps is what we're going to call them.
There you go. There you go. Well, in terms of plugs, I don't know if you guys have anything. I just wanted to take a moment to plug South by Southwest. This is my second year at this festival, and it's fucking phenomenal. Have really enjoyed just seeing so many films, having access to filmmakers and actors and stuff that are in these movies, being able to ask them questions. We saw Mark Duplass. He gave a great keynote. So many cool things. This is such a great opportunity. So thank you to the folks behind South by Southwest for giving us press credentials, which is awesome.
Yeah.
We have really, really enjoyed that access, and we're going to have all kinds of great content coming your way as a result of this. If we are posting a lot of stuff to our Facebook page, you may get a little sick and tired of seeing us, but it's just because we're excited about things and we're, sharing them with you since you're not here and we are, and maybe we can give you a heads up on some cool stuff that's coming out. But if you ever have the chance to go to South by Southwest, get your ass down to Austin because it's amazing.
And if you can't get to South by Southwest, there's other film festivals that maybe you should start with, and support local film, I guess is what I'm saying. South by Southwest prides itself on bringing. I mean, they bring some movies that are kind of big narrative spotlight movies that are going to be released during the year. But what really their bread and butter is, and what they excel at, is bringing independent cinema, feature-length films, documentaries, shorts. Yeah, I mean, even high school. The best of high school films in the country come here. So, support independent and local cinema if you can.
Absolutely, for sure. All right, well, I think that's it for us. We have other movies to go to. We're going to be up till like 3 a.m. again tonight.
Woo!
What? Yeah. Anyway, but just a quick note, if any of you are in Austin and you're at the fest, send us a tweet. Send us a tweet at MB Podcast. It's on the screen if you're watching right now. Shoot us a Facebook message. You can email any one of us at our email addresses, Brad at Movie Bears Podcast, Jim at moviebearspodcast.com, Will at moviebearspodcast.com. Would love to connect with you guys while we're here. Have a good one. Take it easy, everyone. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.